Welcome to this episode of Chattin with Staxx. I'm your host, Bill Staxx, and today I got Frank Lee Benton.
So I get up, end up choking him out. The CO comes around because we're loud, we're throwing it. And then I heard like, oh, he just wanted to get out of the cell, like get moved to another block. So that's why he did it, I guess. I don't know. That was the only
So when
situation
you
I was
choke him
in.
out, are you like holding him and then the cop comes, or you choke him out and then
We're,
leave him? And
well, we're going like we're wrestling. There's like a lot of like we're banging against the door. CO start doing their rounds. Like we were going at it for a little bit, and then I just had him in like the chokehold for like 5 minutes. Like what else am I going to do with this dude? I don't want to get charged, so I'm kind of like restraining them. Like, so I just had them in a chokehold till they came.
I got into a fight with my cellie, I was choking him out. He would wake up. I'd be like, "You gotta stop it!" I kept choking him out, choking him out.
Yeah.
Reminds me of that. So when you go into prison, do you have a girlfriend out there, and are you thinking she's gonna stay with you? Like, what's up with your personal life?
Um, I was like talking to a girl. It was like my ex girlfriend, but she was before I got arrested. She was like started using drugs bad, so I knew like I wasn't going to talk to her. And there had a couple other female friends, but it's a couple months of consistency. You don't hear from them for a year, so I really didn't entertain to that point of like anything serious. Like if someone reach out, I write back. You might catch a little groove with like writing back and forth for a few letters, but yeah, nothing. I didn't want to make promises to any girls. I didn't expect girls to do anything for me, and I didn't want to have my bid and my time like revolving around a female that's out here, living her life. So really kind of didn't entertain it too much.
And once you get into a routine, the time starts to really go by fast, right?
Yeah, yeah. Once you're dug in, once you get your time, like, cause I already had 2 years in the county and then I had 3.5 years, and then so when I went upstate, we were 6 hours away from my hometown, from Philly, and so I would get a visit once in the summer and then once in the winter around Christmas time.
That's it.
So yeah,
2 visits a year.
but I would just look at it as like, all right, 6 more visits and then I'm home. 5 more visits and then I'm home. For like I just did a countdown like that, and I was just looking forward to my visits every month.
But
I mean
but
every
you
six
could have
months.
got up to 11 and a half years. Like if you were in there being bad, then they would have gave you 11 and a half, right?
Yeah, yeah. They didn't have to grant me parole. What do they say? Parole's a privilege. So
Yeah. And so you eventually get parole, right?
yeah, yeah.
And what was that like for you?
So when I'm seeing the parole board, I'm like, at the time I had so many certificates. I'd done so many jobs. Like I was a snow removal. I worked on the block. I ended up becoming a tutor after I graduated school. I was a tutor down there, so that looked good for me. And I worked in the kitchen because my custody level was low. So I had like a good solid report since I've been there. I had like 11 certificates. Then I had voluntary stuff. So and I went there like a presentation. Like I really like took it serious, like trying to come home. And they granted me parole, and I ended up getting paroled to my sister's house. That was my home plan. The only really place I could have probably went at the time.
And so you get out, and what's it like to leave? Are you like, damn, I'm gonna have a whole new life, and you're following this new
So
life that you have, right? Trying to be on the
so
right path.
yeah, so in there it's although everything's still accessible as far as drugs or bullshit and gambling and all, it's in abundance out here, right? Females, drugs, alcohol, you know, even now, like I come home, they have all these like gambling apps, and it's legal to gamble now. FanDuel and Live Casino and all these apps on your phone, and so it's like the temptations aren't as bad in there, but I know out here there's going to be temptations. So I was like a little wary of that because I know how to operate in the circumstances that I was in. Now, this new person I become, I got to learn how to operate the same with like all these people that have like even a different perspective of me, whether it's someone thinks that I'm like more violent now because of my case, or because somebody, or they still think I'm the same person that I was and I'm not. So like it was a little scary coming home because I know that I changed, but now it's time to prove it. So all that stuff I'm saying in letters and on the phone, now it's time to show up and show these people that, like, you know, and really more so for myself, to prove to myself that I've really changed.
Yeah, because a lot of people say it, but they don't follow
Everyone
through.
probably, I think everyone probably says it.
Yeah, I used to say it, you know. I used to be that guy. I used to be in and out of prison. I'd go right back. It took a long time to get my life
Yeah, luckily
together.
that wasn't my situation. I you know, first first time in jail, like actually sitting, was the last.
So what was your parole officer treating you like shit because of your charges? And
No, I actually had a good PO. He came to my sister's house. Mind you, I'm staying in my sister's basement, and now I'm like, I just got to work. So, you know, I'm telling him, hey, I'm looking for work. And, you know, I put in an application here, put in an application here. A couple friends promised me jobs where they were working. It's just, you know, wasn't a good time. They weren't hiring. So my PO was pretty cool though. I actually sent him a text probably last year or maybe a year and a half ago, like when I bought my house and started my business and on, because you get transferred. Like I just got transferred my PO yesterday. This is like my ninth PO, and I'm off in 2 months. I'm off in March.
oh, so you
So
still on it?
yeah,
Damn. So
yeah.
how long did you have to stay on it for the whole 11 and a half? Or
The rest of the tail, yeah. So if I did, you know, 5.5 in there, I had to do 5.5 on parole out here.
wow, that's a long time.
Yeah, yeah. Went by
That's
quick
a
though. It's
wow.
in 2 months. It's done.
So did you have any close calls being on parole where you're like in a situation because you're not supposed to have police contact or
Yeah.
anything, right?
Yep. Nothing.
No police contact at all.
I don't. I think I got pulled over one time for speeding from my one job because I was up like an hour away from my other job, and I'm like, I stayed later to get a job done, and I'm like, I gotta make it on time. Like they're waiting for me to, you know, shift the change. And then I told the cop my situation, and he let me go. But that's the only like real police contact I can remember. Yeah.
When you get out of prison, what's your goal when you get out, and where does your life go? What direction do you go? Where do you get a job? Like,
So when I first got out, um, I had a friend that said he's going to get me in a roofers union. A friend that said he's going to get me in a laborers union. I had guys that worked at Pepsi or Jack and Jill ice cream, and they were like, you know, they've been there for some years, but they just weren't hiring. It was September 2019, and it's going into the colder months. I guess they're like laying people off or whatever. So I'm like, I gotta find work. So I hit Craigslist. I went on the Craigslist and found some odd and end jobs. Just like, you know, I want to keep my structure. I want to the money that comes in. I want to put it aside, put a little bit, like, you know, now I have to pay bills, cell phone bills, and help my sister with the rent and stuff. So I ended up getting a job with a friend of mine. He just actually started painting with a great guy, my old boss. He he's like, hey, you looking, you know, to paint? I don't know how much work he can keep you busy with, but he's looking for guys. So I went there with him for probably like a year painting, and then I stopped by and see one of my old friends. He was the manager at a hoagie place, and he was like, "Hey, we're looking for drivers." So I started delivering there at nighttime and on the weekends, and then I was painting during the week.
are you going to meetings at the time, like AA or NA?
No, so I never used drugs or alcohol. I did AA when I was in jail because it was like a requirement. But I never, like, even though I used to drink or smoke weed or use some type of drug, I never really see myself as like I wasn't out robbing people to get high or get drunk. I wasn't stealing or spending my last dollar on it.
Yeah.
And my situation, you know, I was at a bar and I was drunk. It probably wouldn't have happened if I wasn't drunk. So I know like the effects that substances can have on your decisions, but I
Hmm.
never like felt like I felt like I had the willpower to stop because I did go stints without using drugs or alcohol before. So yeah, I never really indulged in the meetings and stuff. I went to my brother's meeting like 2 years ago when he had his years just to support him and all, but no, I never did the meetings and stuff. I'd rather use my time to make money. That's what I
Yeah.
was like. I'd rather go deliver for Amazon or anything but sit there and talk. Like I need to make money. That was my whole motto.
So now didn't you start your own business
Yeah,
eventually?
so a year later, I worked for this company. I learned a lot of stuff. I learned a lot about the industry, the painting industry. Pandemic happened in 2020, March. So the hoagie place ended up shutting down. They were doing like just delivery stuff, and then they just shut down completely, went out of business. And then I said, well, now I need this job was allowing me to make, X amount of dollars. I need to replace this somehow because I'm not touching the other money that I got saved, and I need to continue saving so I can start investing.
So you're putting
So
like half your check away?
I put my
Or
whole check away from the painting company every week, the whole check. And then I was living off of delivering 3 nights a week and then on the weekends.
how hard is
So,
that to do?
um, not hard because I was still making a paycheck. And luckily, I was staying in my sister's basement. And then when I moved out of there, I had a roommate. It was like 3 or 4 of us. So it wasn't I never had a crazy expense. Like, $1,000 a month covered everything. So if I'm making 500 from this job, 500 from this job, 2 weeks pays for all my living expenses and everything else was getting saved. But then, I did have like nieces and nephews' birthday parties, or if I wanted to buy a new pair of shoes, like I still didn't touch my steady paycheck from the painting job. But now that the hoagie place closed down, like I need to figure out a second source of income because I need to still save this money. I don't want to compromise on saving this. So I ended up doing side work, painting, talked to a couple of realtors, some friends that I know that are in the trades, and hey, I'm doing this side work. I'm starting a business, just like a side business, nothing serious. Well, I ended up blowing up to where like I'm getting fully booked out. People were requesting like, so I had to put my 2 weeks in my job a year after being there. And he's a really good guy. He was on a big project. He said, "Can you give me 3 weeks? Like I'm really relying on your help to get this done." So I gave him
And
three
that's your
weeks.
main job. That's the job where you're putting all the money away.
Yeah, yep. And so I was so busy where I brought in two friends that are still working here to this day. One's a manager, the other one's a crew lead, and we started off next to each other. But I was sending them to do jobs while I'm working for someone else, just because like that's how much of a demand it was, and I didn't want to like push the customers off, and I didn't want the momentum to die down. So they
Yeah.
ended up jumping in, helping, and then it came to a point, like I said, I had to put my 2 weeks in. I had to help these guys out and get this business rolling and take it more serious. So put my 2 weeks in. He asked for three. I gave him 3 weeks. We left on great terms. I was just actually at dinner with him a couple weeks ago. But he was a small company. He was like him and a couple guys. They do very high end work. My
Yeah.
direction was like I want to build something. Like right now I have 25 employees. Like my goal was to like blow up, and it just wasn't an opportunity there for me. He asked like what he could do to keep me, and I've told him like respectfully, I'll take half of the business if you want to go partners, but that's the only way I'm staying. I knew he wasn't going to do that, but
It's a big
that's the only
demand. Yeah.
that's the only thing I would entertain to keep me there.
Yeah. So have you dealt with any situation having all these employees where someone's on drugs or you got to deal with
Oh
some
my God.
craziness? Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's
Dude,
hear the craziness, man.
employees are crazy. Like I'm fortunate enough to have so some of my friends grew up in the trades, so I'm fortunate enough to like bring them on board. And then you start getting like friends of friends or family members of friends or neighborhood people that know you that you might have done business with before when you were messing in the streets. So you give some guys opportunities, and you know your business has to stand for something. And if these guys don't represent what you represent and what the company represents, you got to get rid of them. So we had all type of like dirty urines or guys, almost fighting on job sites because this person's saying this person,
Have you dealt with any employees stealing from people while they're on the job or anything like that?
yeah, it was actually a friend of mine's job that we did, and I can't put it on the employee because I don't know if he did it or not. But they allegedly money went missing, and I had to side with the customer.
So what happens? Can you walk me through that day?
I just get a phone call. Hey Frank, like we need to talk. Money went missing out of my daughter's drawer for graduation. Da da da. And I'm like, okay. I don't believe it was anyone that worked here because like anyone that works here, I would let them work in my house. I would trust them in my own house. So I can't pin it on any certain person, but there was one person I suspected, and I was like, look, I don't know how to make it right besides pulling every person from that crew and replacing the money and putting a new crew in there. Like that's the only, like, unless you have unless you don't want us to work here no more and finish the job, or if you have a better solution, let me know. But that was the solution. And I kind of figured out who it was because they ended up the person that, like, we questioned them all, like, real like individually, and then the one we had a feeling of, like, the next week he stopped coming. So
you
I don't know
didn't
if he
like.
stopped coming because we accused him and he felt like, I don't want to say that, I still don't want to say he did it because I have no actual proof, but I feel like the problem took themselves out.
You didn't tell him like empty your pockets, no, like that.
It was the next day. It was already like the
Oh
crew
yeah,
left. It was the
too
crew
late.
left, and dude, I wanted to get a polygraph test. That's what I wanted to do because it's kind of like, you got this business and you're trying to do right, and you have people that aren't doing right, and it's like this is not what we represent, and it's like, all right, who's the scumbag here? Like, I'm not comfortable not knowing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So how many employees do you think you went through?
We probably went through about, we have 20, I'll say 22 now, 22, we just let go of a couple people. But for my, 3 or 4 years in business, we probably been through maybe 25, 20. And it's not like, guys are scumbags or they don't want to work. A lot, some of them moved on to better opportunities. And that just
Yeah.
forces me to, like, maybe now we got 401ks. Maybe someone moved because, like, there's no retirement option or there's not a higher, next level for a ladder for them to climb. So, like, I take whenever anyone leaves, whether we fire them, whether they leave on their own, whatever, I always look back, like, what could we have done different, or how did we play a part in this? So that's the only way I can get better and, try to retain employees and try to even, scan through and find the right employees for us in the future.
So how do you get into telling your story and coming on shows like this, and how did that all come about?
All right, so when I left prison, I was so in prison. I was actively taking part in programs and even facilitating programs that just help change the mindset, help educate people, and help just people become better men, right? So I'm involved in all that stuff, and then I have, like, people on the block saying, like, you're gonna go home. I'm gonna see you on, like, you're gonna be on, like, Steve Harvey or Ellen or one of these talk shows, like, because you're gonna have a great story. And I didn't, like, I'm like, I'm just doing the right thing, like, and trying to learn and trying to be better and try to spread the knowledge and awareness of, like, we could be better people. But when my friends came and picked me up, I said, record me coming out. I'm gonna make a documentary about this, like, about everything I've been through. And they didn't think that I really changed either, right? It's like, all right, they did it. They recorded it for me. I posted it. It was like, all right, we'll see. So when I came home, I knew that I changed, and I had all of this, like, knowledge and stuff I didn't know and stuff I wanted to help other people with. But it's like I didn't have any substance of success yet. So I was like, all right, I have to show people, like, that I not only that what I know, but I have to show them what I know. So I just started putting everything into play, like, started the business and got my credit up, and then, started investing in the real estate and got some stocks right now. And, just, I didn't use drugs or alcohol, and I keep my word. Like, so I became a different person. And it took me, 3 years to really start showing my story since I came home, maybe like 3.5 years to really start showing, like, look, I did it. I've done it. Like, you've been home and never went to prison for 32 years. I came home with nothing, and I exceeded expectations. Like, you can do it too. You don't have a felony on your record. You don't have to sleep in your sister's basement. You don't. What I really wanted to do was just, like, highlight my story, and I have a podcast of my own. But just to show, like, it's possible. Like, my mom has 8 kids. My mom never worked a job on the books in her life. She waitressed most of her life on welfare. I was, used drugs around no positive male role models. So, like, that's another thing too, just to show somebody, like, especially, like, younger generation, like, if you just apply yourself and stay away from the bullshit, whatever you want is possible.
Do you go down to Kensington and talk to people down there?
Yeah, yeah. Me and my podcast partner, we go to troubled youth groups. We'll speak there. We'll give away stuff. We'll try to catch people before they really go down that road, as far as like with the drugs or with the crimes. It's it's hard running a business, and it's hard, like, I have other investments and all too, in my own personal life, but any free time that I do have, I do try to give back. The podcast is like the main thing, because I can sit down, like, we have like studio set up, we can interview people, we can highlight other people, and hopefully we can reach millions of people. Right now we actually are, through all platforms, we are getting like 1 million views: Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook. Our monthly collective views, we're at like 1 million right now.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So now, what would be your advice to someone who's out there? Maybe they have to go to prison. They got to face some sentence. Maybe they were in a situation like you were in. What would be your advice to that person?
Give yourself a chance. Give yourself like an opportunity to utilize the time, because you're never going to get that much free time alone, free undistracted time alone. Come home, there's all these devices, there's all these apps, there's all these temptations, and there's quick hits of dopamine and things to distract you. In there, it's like you really get a chance to slow down, come up with a plan, do some reflecting on where you went wrong. You can read, you can talk to other people, you can learn more about yourself, but utilize that time wisely, because you're not going to get that time again to like be able to focus on yourself, your life, your plan. And just watch who you're talking to, watch who you're surrounding yourself with, and just make a plan and stick with it. It might not happen overnight, it might not happen in I feel like my success happened pretty quickly. I didn't expect to be where I'm at in 5 years. I thought within 5 years I would just be buying a house. I'm like 6 houses in right now, 6 properties in right now. So, but my story is different than someone else's. It might take you 6 years to buy your first house. That's cool too. But it's better than going backwards, or it's better than going back to prison, or it's better than putting yourself in predicaments where you're harming yourself, harming other people. So just have a plan and stick with it, and just like, be patient.
Yeah, what do you think is the best thing for someone to do that's getting out of prison?
Get a mentor, someone that's living life the right way, someone that doesn't, like, as grown men, right? We know right from wrong. You're getting out of prison. That means you're an adult. If you went to prison, that means you know right from wrong. Even though your brain's not fully developed until you're 25, but you still know right from wrong. I would get around the right people that are doing the right things, and work. I always say, like, that's why I've had 2 jobs. If I'm working, I have no time for the bullshit. I have
Yeah.
no time. I'm busy making money. I'm busy um, just coming up. If I'm not working, I'm working on my plan. I'm working on myself. I'm going to the gym. I'm looking over my credit score. I'm seeing what I have to do to get better with my credit. I'm going to real estate networking events. Like, so basically, utilize your time to do something positive and productive, and get around the right people.
You got some great advice, man, and it seems like you applied yourself in every way, and it's working out
Thank
good
you.
for you. So
Thank you.
what's in store for the future for you?
The future, so I want to get a huge real estate portfolio. I'm going to start working on that. Like, I've been buying and flipping. I think I'm going to buy and hold and start doing some multifamily stuff. Continue to grow the business to where I'm out of the business, but then the people that are in the business that are dedicated, that been here, they have an opportunity to grow and really help take this in an upward direction. But also, it be beneficial to them, as far as they can retire here, they can have somewhere for, make great money, have a good life, have health care, have retirement, and basically let them, steer it, and I'll, do some pushing to help, but hopefully grow that into like, 100 employees, multiple locations. Personally, I just got engaged. So
Congratulations.
thank you. So kids are in the near future, hopefully. And the podcast too, like, that's really where I want to focus a lot of my time at in the future. I want to be able to have like great guests on, to be able to share their stories, to be able to help other people. It's something that I feel like it might not drive the most revenue in, but it feels like it's the most purposeful for me. So I feel fulfilled when I'm like doing that type of stuff. And if I'm making money in other places and I'm just doing that, and it's paying for itself, then that's ideal. That's something I'd be happy with.
What's the name of your podcast? Where can people find it?
It's Streets Number Two Success. Streets to Success. It's on YouTube. We're on all platforms as far as Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and we're going to get on Spotify by the end of the month. Get on Spotify, get on Apple Podcasts. It was just easier to get on YouTube. Like I went through the channels of putting it on there. So the next step was going to get it onto Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
Yeah, I'll leave a link in the description of this video for your podcast and everything
Appreciate
else.
it.
I appreciate you coming on the show and telling your story, man.
Staxx, thanks for having me on, man. Yeah, what you're doing is great too, man. It's not easy. It's not easy, that's for sure.
It's a lot of work.
Yep.
But hey, once you're dedicated and you apply yourself, there's nothing that can't be done, right?
Right, absolutely.
Well, I appreciate it, man. And go check out his podcast. I'll put a link in the description of this video. Hope you have a great day, man. Thanks again.
Thanks. Have a good one.
Is there anyone else you want to give a shout out to before we go?
Shout out to my podcast partner, Jalil_S2S. He pushes me every day to continue with the podcast. Even like I got so much other stuff going on. He's just like nudging me, reminding me. I have a great mentor, Tony. Tony sees this. He helped me a lot with like some real estate stuff and just getting my business in line a little bit better. Just all my family and friends, man. I wouldn't be here if the people didn't believe in me. If they didn't have my back and gave me the support. I got a great support system, even after everything I've been through. So shout out to all of them. Yeah.
Thanks, man. If you like this show, hit the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you can get my videos every time they drop. And if you don't like this show, too bad. Start your own podcast. Peace.